I always tell people to stick with what they see, what they imagine, and not worry if nobody gets it. But to stick to your guns. If you believe in it, someone else will connect with it.
Welcome to Women's Perspectives, the Cartier podcast that celebrates powerful women who help change the world and who strive to shape our future. I'm Farah Nayeri, the journalist and author who will be conducting the interviews for this inspiring third season. Today, I am joined by Sofia Coppola, a filmmaker whose distinctive voice has reshaped modern cinema. As one of the few women to have risen to the top of the industry, she has paved the way for female directors with her nuanced storytelling, intimate visual style, and focus on complex female characters. Through her work behind the scenes, Sophia has championed women's perspectives in film, proving that stories told by and about women are not only necessary, but also timeless. Sofia Coppola, welcome. It's really wonderful to have you on this podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to talk to you today.
Sophia, you're one of the very few female directors to have achieved international recognition in the world today. 21 years ago in 2004, you won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay and were nominated as Best Director for Lost in Translation. And if we look back in history, it took the Academy Awards 80 years to give a woman an Oscar for Best Directing. And at the Cannes Film Festival, only 3 women have ever won the Palme d'Or, the top award. I just wondered, Sophia, from your perspective, why has it taken the film industry so long to recognize women?
That's a really good question. I don't have a good answer, but I've really seen it change so much in the last 20 years. When I started working, there were really only a few of us, and now there's so many more women. And I think a younger generation of women doesn't see the obstacle as much as when I started. So I'm so encouraged by that. But to me, it was always important to show a female perspective and my point of view, and that's something that interested me. And I just always believe in what I was doing, and if someone wasn't interested, I just asked someone else.
Right.
And you find the people that kind of get what you're doing, and step by step. So
you're seeing some change, as you're saying, and there are more women. I guess what you mean is there are more women filmmakers, women scriptwriters, and also women producers, right? Because if the money people are men, then that also makes it difficult.
Yeah, and I think there's more female executives too, but still a very small percentage when you look at it. So I think just the more that it shifts and opens, there'll be more perspectives being shown. In general, there was just that feeling, which it's a macho industry, from the 70s macho thing that I grew up in. But I feel there's definitely a much more open, respectful attitude of women's perspective. I had Jane Campion when I was a young filmmaker to look up to, and who was really respected and taken seriously in the world cinema. So I was so happy to have her as a role model, and I'm so grateful for my women director friends that I know, and then seeing a whole new generation a lot more. I'm making my work, and it makes me happy when young women come up and tell me that it inspired them or that they want to be in film. So I just, I make my work to connect with people and also to help, represent a point of view that isn't as often seen. So I appreciate hearing that, you always appreciate hearing that your work makes an impact. So thank you.
And your films always show the world through the eyes of a woman or a young girl, and that's a fairly uncommon vantage point. We really haven't had that many movies in the history of cinema that have shown the world entirely through the eyes of a woman. We see women who are wives and daughters, etc., and sisters and lovers, but the main storytelling, as you were pointing out earlier, is done by a man. And so cinema needs new voices for women on screen to have these roles that go beyond wife, mother, daughter, object of desire. And I just wondered, how can we encourage these voices? I mean, what should we do to sort of make them come out more?
Yeah, I mean, I think just, in all arts, you want to see people being able to express their experience. And so I felt like when I was growing up, I didn't see my experience on screen, and I didn't relate to a lot of the characters. And so that was just what interested me. But I think just, anything we can do to encourage young voices.
And how are you looking at that? I mean, what is it that you're concretely doing? Or
I'm trying to work on a program to figure out how to open that up to get applicants outside of without connections and some grant and some subsidies, some grants, because it's very hard if you don't. They pay very little, so if you don't come from a family that can support you, it's very hard to get entree into that world. So it's looking at ways to make, hopefully more accessible to young aspiring filmmakers.
That's great. And I mean, as you know, a lot of young women in the world today dream of becoming filmmakers, and you're very much a role model for them. I wondered what tips or advice you might have for a young woman, maybe one of your daughters, who knows, she might want to become a filmmaker.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always tell people to stick with what they see, what they imagine, and not worry if nobody gets it. But to stick to your guns. If you believe in it, someone else will connect with it, because it's hard to to follow your heart and what you want to see and what you feel like you're not seeing, because the chances are, if it interests you, there's someone else out there that it will interest. And I think, luckily with technology today, you can make things and play around. So I think the best thing for young filmmakers are to experiment and get your friends together and make short films and play with the medium.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of technology, I did also want to ask you how you felt in this world of streaming, because you're a proper filmmaker in the conventional sense, with all the apparatus and everything, and your films are aimed at the big screen. They're aimed at distribution in cinemas. And now increasingly we have people who are watching movies in the palms of their hands, on their phones. How do you feel about the streamers? And
I grew up with the tradition of cinema, and I think there's nothing like the experience of the communal experience of seeing a film in a theater with an audience and feeling it together. And I think it's just such a different experience than being alone and watching something at home. I mean, it is cool that young people are able to access, see anything at home. So I think the accessibility is great, but I do think that making that effort to see a film in the theater with an audience is just such a different experience, and that's why I make film.
Absolutely.
For the emotional connection, and so it's still important to me. I feel so lucky that I grew up in a household where we were exposed to art and we were encouraged to be artists. And my mom was interested in contemporary art and conceptual art, and made art films, and she did photography and different visual arts. And then my dad was more traditional with the visuals, I think, and definitely he was a big presence, and she was very kind of observant, and so I really feel like I have a combination of both.
So what led you to become a filmmaker? I mean, why did you become a filmmaker?
I grew up on my father's sets. So my first memories are being on the set of Apocalypse Now in the Philippines when I was 5. And it was always exciting and fun to go to his set and see everybody working together to make this world. But I just...
Sorry, did you meet Marlon Brando?
I did, but I don't know if I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Yes, but yes, my dad told me a story about me meeting him as a baby on the set of The Godfather, and he was certainly around in the Philippines. But so I got to see. I got this incredible film education, but I didn't realize. I mean, I think I always wanted to do something different than my family, because so much of my family is in film, and I was interested in fashion really early on, which was unusual at that time. Now it's more in the mainstream culture, but my parents kind of encouraged that interest, and so in my early 20s, when I went to Cal Arts, I had so many different interests, I didn't know how to pick one, and it was and then when I just made a short film, and that's when I realized that really all my different interests kind of could come together with design and photography and music. in making a film, and that's when it kind of clicked for me that that it was something I knew how to do, which I didn't realize I had been learning all these years. And then, but I still, I think, wanted to be different than my family. And then I read the book of the Virgin Suicides and thought, and I heard they were making a film, and I had so many ideas of how I thought it should be as a film. So I started working on a screenplay, and that project really made me into a filmmaker.
I actually have a quote from that movie, Virgin Suicides, at the beginning. A doctor tells a young girl who tried to take her own life, "What are you doing here, honey? You're not even old enough to know how bad life gets." And then she replies, "Obviously, doctor, you've never been a 13-year-old girl." I mean, obviously, this is your script, and it's just such a hilarious line.
I love that movie. It's from the book, so I can't take credit. But I thought that really says it. It's funny because my dad loves to quote that all the time.
Yeah,
it's really funny to hear my dad say he's never been a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
But he loved that line. But it's from the book, and I feel like it kind of encapsulates the teenage experience.
Completely. And so I have to say, she really has a point, because it's really tough to be a teenager and a teenage girl. You know, you seem to kind of tell stories about being a young girl and navigating life's challenges, but you seem to remember in great detail these periods of your life. Did you keep a diary, or?
No, I wish I had. I just remember, I think that's such a overly sensitive moment in your life. And I remember being annoyed that movies that show teenagers when I was growing up, they all were like 30 years old. And like, it's such a, like, the actors, the casting was always much older. And you're like, it's so different, like a 13-year-old to a 20-year-old is a huge difference, and even 16 to 20, and so you're just trying to capture something that felt authentic and that feeling, and I think it's such a formative time of your life, and also you're not busy in your life. You're there's a lot of time lying around in your bed and listening to music and thinking about who you're going to be. So
it's a tough time.
It is. Yeah,
it's a tough time. Yeah, I mean, there was a similar story in Lost in Translation, because there we have Scarlett Johansson as a young woman, brooding young woman in a hotel in Tokyo. You're very good at portraying this feeling that only the French seem to have a word for: ennui.
Oh yeah, it's true. We don't have a word in English.
I don't think we can translate ennui, but I think you're very good at showing it. It's so hard to illustrate.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I felt like in Lost in Translation, the young woman and the man were both going through similar crises. And I felt like in my 20s, it was like a midlife crisis, identity crisis, because you're like trying to figure out who you are. I thought that time was so hard after college, because you're supposed to be starting your life, and I didn't know what I was doing, and it felt like everyone does. And so it was trying to capture that moment. I always try to just put what I'm experiencing into my work, and then like seeing that, the cliche of the midlife crisis.
Well, the movie was a huge success because you are kind of like really touching on the human condition. Like, everyone who's watched that film has experienced those feelings.
Yeah, I was so surprised, because I really thought it was this little personal, really indulgent film.
Right.
And I was so surprised that I connected with people, because it felt so specific. And I've learned that the more specific you are, somehow that's more universal. So
really.
But I don't know why that is, but I find that. So I find that when I read things, and I try to do that in my work, and it's always mysterious what will connect with people.
And talk to me about Tokyo, because you wrote this script, Lost in Translation, and it's set in Tokyo, which is a city where you spent a lot of time in your 20s.
Yeah, and that was really the starting point for the film. I spent time there in my 20s, and it was just so different, and it made such an impression on me. And I was like, how do I capture that feeling? And I was that age where I was, kind of drifting, and then would have, this really exciting experience of being in Japan and how different it was.
Mm-hmm. But you also love Japan, right? It's just a place that you what is it that you love about Japan?
I do. I mean, I think who doesn't? It's such a beautiful culture. And as a kid, my parents really liked Japan. So we went there when I was young. And I have a lot of memories as a little kid going to Kyoto and being in Tokyo. And so I always loved Japan and Japanese culture, and the mix of very traditional and modern. I think it's Akihabara and the Electronic City is like the most modern sci-fi place, mixed with, you'll see a beautiful Shinto shrine all in the same city. So I I've always admired the culture, and it's something that I grew up with a love. And so it's something that I've grown up with, but I always feel, there's such a appreciation of beauty and respect in their culture. So it's something that I love.
Right, great. Are you in a good place? Do you feel you're in a happy place in your career and in your life and, from all standpoints?
I do. I feel so lucky that I'm getting to make my work. As the beginning, I don't know, the first part of my career was always like fighting to get stuff made, and now I feel so grateful that I have producers and financiers that really support my work, and I feel supported. And I always try to keep my projects, like, keep the budget as low as I can to have the most creative freedom, and that's something that would be my advice also to pass on. But
to keep the budget low?
Yeah, I always keep it as small as you can, because then you have more creative control. Because the less money it has to make, the less it becomes a business venture. It's more. It can be more of an art form. But yeah, I feel so lucky that I get to make my work and express my point of view.
Mm-hmm. So, Sophia, what is keeping you busy right now? I think you said to me earlier you're working on a documentary, but is there also a feature film in the works?
I'm starting a writing, so I'm slowly working on another film. But I've been editing a documentary and working on some photo book projects that I'm enjoying, and being focused, having time with my family, as my kids are only at home for the next few years, so high school years. So trying to, I don't feel in a hurry as you do when you're starting your career, and but I'm enjoying different creative projects, and then hopefully getting back on set.
And in this next film, are we to expect other stories told through the eyes of women?
I wish I could be surprising and do something different, but I mean, that's what motivates me is it's the experience I know. But yeah, I don't know. I'm open to wherever my imagination takes me.
Well, certainly the world loves it. So people say more to you, Sofia Coppola, and I wanted to say a big thank you to you for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you, and thank you for your support of my work over the years.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it, and it's really nice talking to you.
Thank you. Pleasure.